All right, let's jump into sim racing wheels. We got a couple articles here. How to choose the right sim wheel from Driver 61. An ultimate sim racing wheel comparison 2024 from simracingsetups.com. Clearly, you're thinking about a setup upgrade.
That's right.
So let's go through all this
Yep.
and figure out the best way to choose a wheel.
Sounds
The sim racing basics. But like Driver 61 says, the wheel is the core.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
More than just a steering wheel.
Right.
It's got all these parts that work together to make it feel real.
You've got the wheel rim, of course, the part you actually hold.
Right.
But then there's the wheelbase
Okay.
that houses the motor and all the electronics. That's where the force feedback comes from. And then, of course, pedals. Those are important, too.
Yeah.
Not just for gas and brake, but also the clutch.
Right, for manual cars.
Exactly.
So it's not just one wheel then.
Yeah.
It's multiple pieces.
Yeah.
Both articles mention buying a kit
Mm-hmm.
versus individual components. What would you recommend there for someone upgrading?
Well, kits are convenient, especially if you're new to it all.
Right.
It's like a starter pack.
Yeah.
Everything you need in one box.
Okay.
Often they're a little easier on your wallet, too.
Okay.
But if you want to fine-tune everything
Mhm.
and really customize the experience,
Yeah.
then choosing the parts individually gives you that freedom.
I see. It's like with PCs, right? Pre-built versus building your own.
Exactly.
More control with the latter,
Exactly.
but more
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
Driver 61 talks a lot about drive types. I got to admit, I don't totally understand what that means
Yeah.
and why it's so important.
It's really important, actually. It determines how the force feedback is generated.
Okay.
So basically, how realistic the wheel feels.
Interesting.
The resistance in the steering,
Yeah,
jolts and vibrations from the car,
Yeah.
that's what makes it different from just a toy.
I see. So what are the options for that?
3 main types: direct drive,
Okay.
belt-driven,
Okay.
and gear-driven.
Okay.
Sim Racing Setups actually compares them side by side, so you can see the pros and cons. Direct drive. The motor's connected straight to the steering shaft.
All right.
Instant response, super precise.
Hmm.
The detail in the force feedback is amazing.
Okay.
It's what the pros use,
Ah,
but it's the priciest.
of course. That article mentioned entry-level direct drive, though. Is that a new thing?
Yeah. We're seeing more companies offer that direct drive wheels at lower prices, makes it more accessible.
Interesting. So that high-end experience
Yeah.
is becoming more attainable.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. So direct drive is the best. But what about belt-driven then?
Belt-driven uses a belt and pulley system to send the force from the motor to the wheel.
Gotcha.
It's a good middle ground,
Okay.
smoother and more detailed than gear-driven,
Okay.
but for less money than direct drive.
Okay. So it's a balance then. Performance and cost.
Right.
And I'm guessing gear-driven is the most budget-friendly.
You got it.
Okay.
It uses a motor and gears to create that force feedback. They've been around the longest and are great if you're just starting. They might not be as smooth or detailed as the others,
Okay.
but they're still solid.
So it's not all about the most expensive gear.
Definitely not.
Driver 61 even says
Yeah,
that honing your driving skills is key, even with a basic setup.
absolutely. Like any sport,
Right.
the equipment helps, but it's skill and practice that make you better.
Speaking of equipment, though, both articles say to choose a reputable brand. Why is that so important?
Well, you're making an investment.
Right.
You want it to last.
Of course.
Brands like Logitech, Thrustmaster, and Fanatec, they have a proven track record, so you know you're getting quality.
Okay.
Plus, they have better customer support, larger communities,
Yeah.
and it's easier to find spare parts,
Makes sense.
which can be super helpful later on.
So it's not just the purchase. It's the whole ecosystem.
Exactly.
And they talk about buying used, too.
Yeah, Sim Racing Setups has a whole section on that.
Okay.
It can be tempting to go secondhand,
Right.
but there are definitely risks,
Like-
wear and tear,
Yeah.
potential damage, compatibility issues.
So like buying a used car then.
Exactly.
You got to be extra careful.
Do your due diligence. Check the playtime.
Yeah.
Look for signs of wear. Make sure the warranty is transferable.
Okay.
And really important, make sure it works with your gaming platform.
Of course.
You don't want to buy a wheel. And then find out it doesn't work with your PC or console.
Right. That would be a disaster.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got the basics. Parts of a sim racing wheel, drive type, buying new versus used. But what about the feeling, the actual experience?
Right.
What does a good wheel feel like in your hands?
That's where the magic of force feedback comes in.
Okay.
It's not just about resistance. It's all the sensations that bring the car to life.
Okay. Driver 61 talks about fidelity. What does that mean in practice?
A good wheel should feel smooth,
Okay.
fluid, and predictable.
Right.
Like you're actually connected to the car. You should feel the tire grip, weight transfer, even the track surface. That's where the different drive types really make a difference.
But how do they compare them?
Direct drive offers the highest fidelity
Mm-hmm.
because it's a direct connection between the motor and the wheel. Super fine detail, smoothness is hard to beat, the most realistic feel overall.
Makes sense, since it's the most expensive.
Yeah.
What about belt-driven?
Still very good fidelity.
Okay.
Might not be quite as crisp as direct drive,
Right.
but for a lot of people, it's a good balance of performance and price.
I see. And gear-driven?
Gear-driven's a good starting point,
Okay.
but it's a little rougher.
Okay.
Might feel some notchiness in the force feedback, and the detail isn't as high,
Right.
but it's still a big step up from a regular controller.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So finding the right balance for your needs and budget.
Exactly.
But is there a personal element to this? Like, do preferences matter?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Think about the shape of the wheel rim.
Okay.
F1 style versus GT style, for example. They feel totally different. Then there's the material.
Okay.
Leather, Alcantara, even plastic.
Right.
Comfort and grip, that impacts how you connect with the wheel.
Interesting.
And don't forget button placement
Right.
and customization.
Oh,
Having the right buttons within reach can make a big difference during a race.
I bet. So lots to consider, even beyond the tech stuff.
Definitely.
But even with the perfect wheel, what if the setup is shaky?
Good point. Sim racing setups has a whole section on mounting.
Okay.
They say even the best wheel is useless. Without a solid mount,
Why is that?
any wobble or flex in the mount will make the wheel move,
Oh, I see.
which messes with the force feedback, makes it less realistic.
Right.
Imagine trying to feel the tire grip when your whole wheelbase is shaking.
Yeah, that would be bad. So what are the mounting options?
Depends on budget and space.
Oh, yeah.
You can bolt it directly to a solid surface,
Okay.
like a rig or a sturdy desk.
Right.
Desk clamps are popular too,
Okay.
but they gotta be really tight.
Right. To prevent
Yeah.
slipping.
Exactly.
So a solid mount is just as important.
Absolutely.
Now, I have a question. I bet a lot of people are wondering this. Do you need a top-of-the-line, super expensive wheel to be competitive?
That's a question that gets debated a lot. We can get into that more
Okay.
when we talk about specific brands and models.
Right?
But for now, let's just say high-end gear has advantages.
Okay, you've got me curious. But I guess we'll have to wait for part 2 for the rest of that thought. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. We were about to get into specific brands and models.
Right now that we've got the basics down, let's see how that all translates into actual products.
Okay.
Remember those brands we talked about?
Yeah, Logitech, Thrustmaster,
Fanatec.
Semicube, AccuForce.
Right. Each one has its strengths, caters to different types of sim racers.
Perfect. So where do we even begin?
Well, Logitech is a name everyone knows. They're known for quality and affordability, and that's true for their sim racing stuff too.
Yeah.
Their G29 and G920 models, super popular, especially with beginners.
Yeah, I was reading
Yeah.
that some pro sim racers even started with those.
It's true.
It shows you don't need to spend a fortune to get a good experience.
Exactly, and it proves the point that skills matter more than gear.
Right.
But even if you're not a beginner, Logitech has stuff for you too.
Oh, okay.
They recently got into direct drive
Hmm.
with their pro racing wheel. It's
Yeah.
gotten good reviews.
So they're not just sticking with the basics, they're innovating.
Yeah, they're pushing the boundaries.
What about Thrustmaster then? What's their thing?
They offer a huge range of wheels and accessories,
Okay.
from casual racers to serious enthusiasts. Their T150 and TMX wheels are popular entry-level options.
Okay.
Those use belt-driven technology.
So a step up from gear driven.
Exactly.
Good for people who want
Yeah,
that smoother force feedback, but don't want to spend a ton.
right.
Do they have anything for the more hardcore racers, though?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Their T300 and TX series are great. Really good performance, tons of customization options.
Interesting.
They even have interchangeable wheel rims.
Okay, so you can switch between like an F1 style and a GT style
Exactly.
without needing different wheelbases.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Okay, now let's talk about the brand. That makes everyone drool. Fanatec. They're like the luxury car of sim racing wheels, right?
That's a good comparison.
Uh-huh.
They're known for premium equipment,
Okay.
quality, performance, and something they call modularity.
Modularity. What's that?
It means you can customize and upgrade everything.
Okay.
They have a whole ecosystem of interchangeable parts. Wheel rims, wheelbases, pedals, shifters.
Oh.
You can start basic
Okay.
and upgrade as you go.
So like building a high-end PC.
Exactly.
You choose the parts you want.
And upgrade them later.
Yep, there's CSLDD, for example, has been a game changer.
Okay.
Incredible direct drive performance, but at a more affordable price.
So they're bringing that high-end tech
Yeah.
to a wider audience.
Cool. What about their top-tier stuff, though?
Their Club Sport wheelbases are legendary.
Okay.
Phenomenal force feedback.
Yeah.
Tons of tuning options. Compatible with their whole ecosystem
Wow.
if you want the absolute best. And you have the money for it. Fanatec is definitely one to consider.
Right. Okay, so we've got Logitech, Thrustmaster, Fanatec. That leaves SimiCube and AccuForce, the direct drive specialists.
Right.
Let's start with SimiCube.
Okay.
That makes them different.
SimiCube is a Finnish company,
Okay.
often considered the gold standard for direct drive.
Wow.
Their attention to detail and build quality is amazing. They're known for super smooth and powerful force feedback.
So if money's no object and you want the absolute best realism, SimiCube is the way to go.
They're definitely up there.
Okay.
Their SimiCube 2 Pro and SimiCube 2 Ultimate are super sought after.
Makes sense, but that level of performance probably comes with a price tag.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Huh.
It's a big investment,
Right.
but for a lot of sim racers, they're worth it.
Yep.
Now, AccuForce is another interesting one.
Ah.
They were one of the first to bring direct drive to sim racing.
So they've been around a while.
Yeah.
What are they known for?
Incredibly smooth and detailed force feedback,
Okay.
especially the linearity and responsiveness. Their Pro V2 wheelbase is a favorite
Okay.
for people who want accuracy and fidelity above all else.
Interesting. So another good option for that premium direct drive experience?
Exactly.
Wow, we've covered a lot here. It's amazing how much variety there is.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface.
I can see how it could be overwhelming for someone trying to choose,
Yeah, definitely.
especially if you're new to it, or even upgrading from an older model.
Right.
Where do you even start?
Think back to what we talked about. Drive types, fidelity.
Okay.
What level of realism do you want? How much can you spend? What games are you going to be playing? Those are all key questions.
You don't want to jump in the deep end
Yeah.
and buy a top-of-the-line wheel if you're just starting out. And even if you're experienced, you got to think about what you need, what you prefer.
Yeah, like if you're into Formula One, you probably want a smaller wheel with lots of buttons.
Right, for all the car settings.
Exactly. But if you're into rally, a bigger round wheel might feel better,
I see.
give you better feedback for those loose surfaces.
It's all about the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
What else should people think about?
Compatibility is huge.
Okay.
Make sure the wheel works with your platform.
Right. PC, PlayStation, Xbox.
Right. Some are specific.
Hmm.
Others work with multiple.
Okay.
And don't forget accessories.
Oh, right.
Do you want a shifter for manual gears?
Hmm.
Are you going for a full rig with a cockpit and pedals?
It's like building a whole ecosystem then.
Exactly.
Choosing the right parts that work together.
Right?
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But it sounds kind of fun, too.
It definitely can be.
And remember, the sim racing community is a great resource.
Oh, for sure.
Don't be afraid to ask other people.
Yeah. Read reviews, watch
There's
videos.
tons of info out there.
Exactly.
Okay. But even with all this, I bet everyone's still wondering, is there one wheel to rule them all? The ultimate sim racing wheel.
Well, that's the thing.
So is there one ultimate wheel then? One that's better than all the rest?
It's not that simple. The best wheel is the one that fits you best. Your needs, preferences, budget. Just like with cars. There's no single best car for everyone.
That makes sense. So no need to find that mythical holy grail. We could just choose what's right for us.
Exactly. Sim racing is all about personalization. You're building a setup that works for you, your driving style, your goals, even the specific games you play.
It's not about having the most expensive gear.
Right.
It's about creating an experience that's tailored to you.
Exactly.
I like that. It's about the experience, the joy of driving
Yeah.
and getting better.
Absolutely. And the cool thing about sim racing is that you can always grow and evolve as you get more experience. You'll figure out what really matters to you. In a wheel?
Yeah.
Maybe you start with a budget-friendly one.
Right.
And then upgrade to direct drive later.
Okay.
Or maybe a mid-range belt-driven wheel is perfect for you.
It's a journey then.
Yeah.
Figuring out what works best as you improve.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll be winning races with a basic setup, proving it's the driver that matters.
Like those underdog stories in real racing.
Exactly.
Less powerful car,
Yeah.
but they outsmart the competition.
It's all about skill, strategy, and knowing the car and track.
Right, and those things apply in sim racing too.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered a lot.
We have?
Parts of a wheel, drive types,
Yeah.
brands, pros and cons.
Yep. Good foundation.
But as we wrap up,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway here?
Don't get lost in the details. Don't feel like you need the best gear.
Okay.
Choose a wheel that fits your budget, your preferences, and most importantly, your passion for sim racing.
Right, let that guide you.
Exactly. You'll find the perfect wheel that way.
It's not about chasing some ideal. It's about finding what makes you excited. To get on the virtual track.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
One last thought, though.
Okay, I'm landing.
As you get more into sim racing, think about what games or racing types you like. Formula One, rally, GT3 endurance races.
Okay.
They each have their own things, different demands on the driver and the gear.
So diving deeper into those could help you choose a wheel.
It could. Some games need specific features or wheel characteristics that we didn't even talk about today.
Like maybe a rally game needs a wheel with a strong damper system to feel those loose surfaces.
Exactly. Or an endurance racing game might need comfortable grips and buttons that are easy to reach during those long races.
So matching your equipment to the game.
Right. And remember, the community is a great resource.
For getting more specific advice.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Learn from others.
So all the sim racers out there, embrace the learning, connect with the community, and most importantly, have fun.
Happy racing, everyone.
Until next time.
Keep those wheels turning and those lap times dropping.